Hi, this is JC from Mindfulness Matters. Happy New Year to you. I hope everybody's had a healthy, happy, and safe holiday season. So as we kick off 2021, I thought we would start by talking about something that's really important. It's your self-esteem. So first, let me back up a little bit and talk about our culture that we live in. We live in a culture and in a society right now that pushes selfishness. We are told to think about ourselves. We are told to put ourselves first. We are told, you just do you. Now, I'm not saying that those things are wrong, but it might seem strange that I'm saying we live in a focused, selfish society, and I'm telling you to think about your self-esteem. So let's go to the healthy context of this, okay? When we look at our self-esteem is how we feel about ourselves. And I think that we should always be walking that razor's edge sometimes of when are times that I do actually have to think about my needs and prioritize myself, and when are times that I need to not think of myself and to be selfless. Well, even making that determination is going to be difficult or skewed if you're a person that struggles with a low self-concept or with poor self-esteem. Your self-esteem isn't just how you feel about yourself. Now, that's kind of an important thing, how you feel about yourself. I know for me, if I stand in the mirror and I'm having a really good hair day, and I'm wearing something maybe loose and flowy that hides some stuff I don't like, I'm going to feel pretty good about myself that day. Or maybe I'm going to go online and look at a photo that somebody's posted of me and I look like I'm rocking a quad chin. I might not feel so good about myself that day. It's not so much that I'm talking about that, although I am. Your self-esteem has everything to do with everything that you are. How we feel about ourselves is the very root of everything else that happens for us in our life. Albert Ellis was a great social scientist, and one of the things that he taught was that the core is self. And outside self is this ring, and that's others, and then outside that is world. And so we have this three-layer process of our existence. So first, looking at self, that is the core. It is the thing that we actually have the most control over, because we can always go in and control what's going on with others or world. So in the self-others world, we start with self. How is it that you were taught to think about yourself when you were young? Now, sometimes this is a sensitive topic when I'm working with people. As a trauma specialist, we're often looking at self-esteem. And I can tell you that most people that I meet, self-esteem is probably the most chronic problem, despite some of the other things that might be coming up or why a person might be in therapy. Your self-esteem drives everything. When you think about how you feel about yourself, and you think about the amount of value that you assign yourself, those things are really important, and they will control the things that you do. If you value yourself, you're not going to let someone lie to you or borrow money from you that hasn't paid you back twice, or continue to date somebody who's unkind or selfish. If you have a good sense of self, you tend to be a person that considers responsibilities. I pay my bills on time because my reputation's important. I know that that probably sounds silly, but your self-esteem is the root of everything. Let's talk about your everyday life and your relationships. Let's think about work. Let's think about the way we spend our money. When you feel good about yourself, you're free to think about others. When you feel good about yourself, you're free to assess the situation and say, this isn't healthy for me, or I don't think that that was right to do, right? When we are able to enjoy a concept of healthy self-reflection, it's when we can look at mistakes that we've made and things in our personalities or our thought life that maybe are not very attractive or healthy. And we can look at those things and say, you know, that's not really my best. So self-esteem is at the root of everything we need to work on who we are and how we live our lives and how we solve our problems. So I'm going to touch more on this through the year, but I want you to think about where your self-esteem is. What is your self-concept? Can you go stand in your mirror right now quietly in the bathroom and give yourself a very long stare, eye to reflection maybe? Can you do that? Is it comfortable? Can you think about who you are as a person and feel a sense of warmth and connection? So think about these things. One of the things that I encourage, and I'll kind of leave you with this thought, is I love to see people working on their self-esteem in between therapy times. And so if you get to spend an hour with a person and then in 2 weeks you see them again and they've been through some tough stuff, it's pretty easy to lose ground. So I would encourage everybody who's working on themselves and trying to be a healthy psychological individual that you would go find a really good self-help book. Now, please be careful what you buy. There's some really, really crazy stuff out there. Try to look at somebody who is accredited, or somebody who is licensed, or someone who is an authority in this area and is respected. So I try to encourage people to pick a clinical book. One of my favorites is called the Self-Esteem Workbook, and it's written by Glenn Schiraldi. I think that Glenn Schiraldi is an extremely intelligent man, and he's the author of a lot of social work books. I remember in school seeing his name all the time. It's also a book that I've used in my personal life, and I have found it to be really, really helpful in conjunction with good therapy and some faith-building things going on. So I ask people, go find a good self-help book. And actually, I think it's a good idea to run from 2 of them. Now, that might sound a little ambitious, but here's what I encourage. Whatever else in your life, the next dimension that we tend to look at is faith. So we have mind, body, and spirit. And so try to find something that matches a faith that you believe in or practice in or feel like you can align to, no matter what that might be. So what I would like to see someone do who wants to work on themselves is to have a clinical self-help book, and then to have some kind of spiritually based self-help book, and have them both be focused on their self-esteem. Then you get a notebook and you keep those 3 things together. Now maybe you're going to go a couple days and not read, and that's okay. The minute you tell yourself this is a task, it loses its vigor. Do this when you feel like it. Do this when you want to. But do it, okay? So these 2 self-help books are going to be really helpful in getting yourself in a place where you can start to challenge some of the unpleasant things. You know, I love to ask people when they can think of a negative thought about themselves, like I just never felt like I was good enough. And I can say, well, why would that be? And when we explore those things, you know, the truth is these are just old messages that were told to us maybe by someone else, maybe a caregiver who wasn't very supportive or kind, or maybe some cruel kids in school, or maybe even we told ourselves that because we were never taught that it's okay to fail. So self-esteem is a big issue. It's always going to bring you back to your childhood, I can tell you right now. And that is something that if you don't feel comfortable doing, that's okay. But think about how important it is to consider yourself in a healthy and loving and reasonable way. I hope you have a great day. I thank you for listening. Again, I wish you a happy New Year's. And please remember that mindfulness matters.